So I want to talk about the importance of your actual toes because for the most part they've been just constrained by a lot of small toe box shoes because that's toe box is basically the front section of the shoe that covers your toes basically. So what happens is a lot of them just restrict your feet together, even though you heel strike. That's a bad technique in and of itself. Being able to forefoot walk, you need um, wide toe box shoes. And what happens is because when you want to actually engage your toes properly, uh, in order to forefoot walk or just the forefoot movements in general, the ideal for your toes is that they're spread out like your fingers. So this is kind of like a representation of what it is like when you, or most people's feet, they're constrained like this, heel striking, and this is what it looks like when you're forefoot walking. Like it's a massive difference just in hands, but it's a similar concept because you cannot uh, use the maximum, like if you would say tense your hand properly, like make sure every finger is fully tensed. If you were wearing a glove that was like a shoe that squished your toes together, you could not achieve this just because like there wouldn't be enough space in that, like that. So this is to demonstrate what happens in heel striking versus forefoot. Like if you were to try and like tense while constrained in the tight footwear, it would look like this as opposed to needing to look like this. So same goes with your toes. In order for them to actually be in a strong position to spread out, they need to splay out, and your normal footwear will not allow that because uh, you need a wider toe box essentially. So the toes, you'll notice the pinky especially, it really comes out because right now it's tucked in. They get squished. Most people's feet, if you'll see, the pinky side gets tucked in towards the other toes, and then even the big toe, even that gets crooked inwards. So you basically get bunions, and it doesn't look nice. It doesn't feel nice. But for the most part, they can be reversible. Like I had slight bunions as well, but I've managed to, over a course of 3 years, just slow, steadily figure out and got my pinky to come out a lot wider than I ever thought they needed to be or that they certainly could be. So this is very important. I just want to highlight it because the pinky is quite the stability. Um, like it's a great stabilizer of your foot because it will be very difficult to stand in a forward position because you do have to be balanced. You're up on your forefeet like this. You may fall in your heels to regain balance, but ideally you want to be in this forward position when you're standing around because it allows your muscles to engage and hold up your body weight. Because your body weight, as soon as you stood up, there's a compression that goes on throughout your joints, and to offset that, if you engage your muscles to hold you up, you're able to ease off on your joints so that they don't get compressed and damaged. Because if you were to just stand around like this, we already know, as a general thing, that people over the course of a day, from the morning, they're taller by maybe 2 centimeters or an inch than when they go to sleep, basically. So your height compresses, you shrink a little over the period of a day. That's because that's mostly because you're basically heel striking and you're stood up in a heel striking manner where you're using your skeleton like this. Sure, you can disengage so many muscles standing up on your skeleton basically and then your joints, flat footed on your heel. It's like, yeah, this is relaxing. I'm barely using any energy. I can just move around. It's very easy. But the problem is, easy often is destructive. And this is the case with this too. You're just being like this muscles disengaged. You have to know that the energy in your standing height, so your body weight, is leaning on your skeleton and your joints, and the padding in your joints that is just there. It's more like a lubricant and something that buffers and allows your joints to move nicely and uniformly in the correct position. However, if you're just standing around like this or just walking around moving and heel striking, jumping and running and heel striking, that padding gets destroyed, gets compressed. So yeah, that's why standing up, it's really important just to start at that basic foundational level where your mere standing is an exercise. So you should stand strong, but know that it will be difficult to just even stand unless you work on your toes. They're very important because this becomes the foot essentially, just the forefoot, the front area. Um, Here is the arch of your feet in between. It's not the midfoot, it's the arch. And it's very strong muscles there. And your feet overall, there are many joints in them. It's not just, one, your ankle and then some here. There's multiple working together. And then obviously you got your heel, which is part of your ankle. Sure, your heel might be a little soft, and people are like, oh, well, you can just heel strike on that. It's like, yeah, it's a little soft for emergencies. It's not for every step, every standard use. Just look at people's cracked heels. My heel is basically cracked no more. It's got some deep, what do you call them, wrinkles, but that's not the same as a crack. Not to brag, but I may have the smoothest heels on earth currently. But my point is, because you don't heel strike in a forefoot movement, you can reverse heel cracks, and that can save you possibly even up to 50% on your, I don't know what they call them, pedicures. But yeah, that's another bonus on the side for some people. I personally take care of my own feet. But yeah, your toes, yeah, be very mindful of them. You got to strengthen them all. Toe spacers are really good for that. You put toe spacers in. Um, you can get generally two sizes. We get a large one. It's difficult to walk on. Those are more just, you can sit down or lie down or whatever. Just put them in, and then they'll just do like some forward and some backwards, forward and backwards, because you don't, once you put the spaces in, you don't need to worry about your toes being able to splay out enough. They'll just help them do that anyway. So that will get your toes. It'll slowly help realign them, especially if you do more exercises, like if you do resistance exercises with your toes. So something like holding your toes with your hand, pushing them down, uh, and resisting that push, or putting it behind it and resisting the push upwards. It's kind of like doing bicep curls and triceps. So you lift for biceps and you push for triceps. Your toes are basically the same thing. It doesn't have 360 directional movement where you got to work many things. It's not that complicated, but once you do get them strong, you'll be surprised how much they splay out. It's literally like the fingers, like this. You go from this to that. So yeah, it's very important, and you really see the stability importance of the pinky. But don't forget the big toe, because it's still the most important toe. But you have to understand that with the big toe, it's got like just two joints, whereas the rest got three joints. That means the rest are more flexible. So when you um, when you are moving around, you have to make sure you land outside, pinky side first, before you roll towards your big toe. Obviously, in real time, it's just going to be like this, it's a quick step. So it's very difficult to get the accuracy of that landing, but it's important because you cannot land big toe first all the time. Uh, don't really recommend it at all, not even all the time. But yeah, it can dislocate or it can break if you use your big toe. So yeah, that's another important matter. Yeah. So